Today I'm going to cover my favorite type of supply and demand setup. It's the ones that I like to take, that when I see it, it's like, all right, cool, we're about to make some money. So let's get straight into it. So now there are 4 things that I'm usually looking for that these setups needs to have. About 4 things. But before I even get into those, firstly, I like to trade on a 5-minute, just because 5-minute is nice and quick. It's just been my bread and butter, right? 5-minute. But for me to see this, sweet supply and demand setup, I do need a higher time frame confluence. So the first thing would be a high time frame confluence, right? And what I mean by this is, okay, if we're looking at the 1 hour right now, we can't exactly see any confluence per se. If we go down to the 15, you will see that right here we do have this. So the first thing we can see is we have a 15-minute demand right there, right? 15-minute demand kind of broke this swing high from here. We have a break of structure from here. We broke this one as well. Didn't close above this, but that's all good. But we can see that we at least had a push from the 15. So that's number 1. Now, if we're to go down to the 5-minute like I would, you can see that the setup I'm looking for is this one right here. If we just kind of play it through, we see that eventually they do tap into the zone. So this brings us to the second thing that I like to see when I'm taking my setups. And that is they didn't actually close within the zone. This is a huge volume, especially on gold. Keep in mind, by the way, this setup works on any pair whatsoever, but gold has just somewhat been nice to me recently. And this trade here that I actually did take, I took this trade live, I believe this was last week or a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. This trade actually got me my highest amount of payout ever so far, right? So this was a huge one. This was a big one. Once I see that they also did not reject, so this means there's a whole lot of buyers here. So that's good for me to see, because I believe they did that twice, maybe tap back in again, yeah, and still didn't close within the zone, and now we're seeing a rejection. The third is a break of structure. A break of structure kind of is necessary for any setup that I see. I mentioned that before anyway, but yeah, a break of structure needs to be there, because what the break of structure means to me is that they want to go up in that direction. They decide to break structure, and if they're doing it time and time again, it means they want to keep going up in that direction. So that's if I was to rank these, that might be one of the most important ones, because if I don't see a break of structure, I'm probably not. The rest of the confluences don't even matter. So a break of structure is important. That needs to be there, bro. But we've got the break of structure. Yeah, they didn't close within the zone. We also have a 15-minute behind us on this setup. And now the fourth is, if we go up to the 1 hour again, we will see that price has been pushing up for a while, right? You can see price has been pushing up for ages. If we're to kind of draw this out, just so it's super clear, you can kind of see there's been an uptrend for a while, right? Then suddenly price decided to break lows here. So we had this price push down again for a little bit. When price has kind of gone upwards for a while and then kind of changed character or changed direction, once they start changing direction again is what I like, because what this means is trying to take a buy from when they've been pushing up for ages, that buy is going to stop at some point. You don't know when exactly it's going to happen, right? You know that there's an uptrend, but at some point the downtrend is going to come. So for some who bought here, for example, they didn't know this was going to be the end of it, right? Not really, but at some point they didn't push up anymore, price consolidated and dumped. So at this point here, people lost. But once the trend is starting up kind of like fresh, sort of brand new, right? We're seeing the high starting to form now slowly, especially when you go down to the 5, you can see this properly now. Once they've pushed down for a while, now we're getting the break of structure here, break of structure here. The trend sort of just started. This is what I like the most, because now this means that if they're to push up, there is a lot of room for them to go. They can push up for ages, right? So I feel more confident that way. That's when I can take more than a 1-to-1. And this trade was huge, right? You'll see in a minute. But that's when I feel super confident, because I know that, okay, cool, there's a lot of room to go, right? There's still a lot of space. Because if we look back at the 1 hour, ton of gaps here. There's a gap all the way from here to here. So there's all these gaps to be filled, right? They still got filled. There's these gaps here. So I'm super happy about that. There's barely any gaps below. So all of these are ticking boxes. There's no gaps. I mean, there's a tiny gap here, but that's not too relevant. It's more likely that they want to push up this way, especially when you're seeing the break of structure to the upside. We tapped in now. We tapped in again. And now I'm seeing the push. So now I'm just waiting for my entry, really. See, now I was getting my entry, putting my stop loss down here, right? Initially, on this trade, my TP was to look for a 1-to-1. because at that moment, I mean, not 1 to 1, sorry, my TP was to leave up here, which is a 1 to 4.6, because at that moment I didn't actually check that we had a 15-minute, but this was my TP. I was trying to leave up here, so I saw this huge push. Price still hasn't closed within the zone, by the way, this entire time, so this is good. This is good so far. And this is New York session, so I know volume is usually good during New York session. I've been trading New York recently, and that is kind of what I prefer for now. London is good as well, but for now, New York session is kind of killing it. So once I'm seeing this push, they've nearly hit my TP in just a few minutes. Now, why I like the higher time frame is when I see a higher time frame confluence like this now, what this means for me is that I can put my entry, like I treat this trade now like it's a 15-minute setup. So now my entry would be here. Why? Is because now I'm treating it like this. My entry now is going to be there, and then I'm looking for 1 to 1 on the 15. So which means I'm leaving around up here. So all of a sudden I've turned that 5-minute trade into this, right? But I believe at this time, what is it, 145, price action was still good, and then we hit TP like that. One thing I just realized as well, this isn't even the this is a perfect example of what I was talking about, and I'll show you guys another example, but this wasn't even the trade I was talking about that got me my highest win, right? It was this one. So literally shortly after, I think what, a couple of days after, boom, the same thing, but this is the one I was talking about. But if we're to see exactly how it played out and how I was able to leave there, it's pretty much the same thing, right? So I'm looking at this setup like this. We initially, one thing that I like to see usually as well is when they sweep liquidity first before hitting my zone, I'm happy. Those trades give me a bit more confidence, right? And what I mean by that is that there were people that bought here, right? This trade was coming down, people bought here, and we had a push, you know, big push to the upside, break of structure, minor one anyway. And then for them to hit my zone, they had to take people out. When people were taken out here, when that happens most of the time, those kind of setups are even better most of the time. But looking at this trade here, this was the setup I was looking for, right? Usually I will draw the zone a bit lower like this, but again, what I did was went to the higher time frame, usually just the 15. I don't usually go like to the 4 hours and stuff, no, but just looking at the 15, right? You can see price pushed up from the other day, trickled down a little bit, consolidated for a while, kind of forming minor lower lows, then eventually they gave us a break of structure on the 15-minute. If you also look at the 30-minute, you can see this is also a 30-minute. So once the higher time frame starts to stack up, even better. But now going down to the 5 is what I'm looking for, right? Looking at my 5-minute, we have the break of structures there, boom. High time frame is there, boom. You can see right now, eventually they tapped into the zone and rejected massively, boom. And now I'm looking for my entry. At this time, this was 230, so this was New York opening, ton of volume, beautiful stuff. So just applying the same things I told you before, I'm gonna now go. Initially, I was looking to leave up here. But that's not 1 to 1, so I'm gonna be looking for 1 to 1 minimum, right? So in this case, that's basically about a 1 to 1. That's what I'm looking for, right? To leave around up here. Cool. But I realized, you know, going back to the 15, now I treat this like a 15-minute setup now. But this time, because the rejection was so crazy, I'm leaving up. That's where my entry would basically be on a 1 to 1. I mean, on a 15-minute, and then I'm looking for 1 to 1 like this. So now you can see how this 5-minute setup has now become this. And I trust this setup. When I see this again, bread and butter, everything is ticked, everything's all good, rejection's there, I'm leaving there. And because it's gold can give you this much like this. Gold can do it, NAS can do it. Some Forex pairs can give you like a 1 to 3, some. But gold and NAS, I know they can do that easily. So now you see how I've treated this. Now this is where my exit is because of that 15-minute confluence and the 30-minute as well. So literally, instead of leaving up here, I just moved my TP to up here. And in a few minutes, boom, super quick. Literally took 15 minutes and I was out of this trade. This wasn't even news. Literally, this was just a normal, I believe this was a normal trade. I don't think there was news at 240 GMT. And that was the case with this trade. This was a huge one. Massive trade. Absolutely massive. I believe this was about 6k or more, if I remember correctly. But these are my favorite kind of setups. So those are 2 examples, pretty straightforward. If you find any value in this video, then make sure to like and subscribe for more. And if you'd like to learn from me, then there is a free Discord link down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.